Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode on my podcast, Monday Morning News. Before we start off, I hope you all had a super good week and an even better weekend. I kind of had a hectic week. My super boss is in office and it was a week full of meetings. And additionally, what was special last week? It was International Women's Day on the 8th of March. I always wonder, do we need a day for women? Maybe we can adore her every day and celebrate her a bit more on Women's Day. Sounds nice, right? And to all the strong women out there, may we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. So much more power to all of you. And what was the other biggest talk of the nation? The big fat pre-wedding festivities of Anant Ambani and Radhika Merchant. And why did I stress on pre-wedding festivities? Because honestly, I am hearing it for the first time. Especially 3 days. That's the amount of time we spend on the actual wedding generally. And pre-wedding festivities, it just includes a gathering with your close friends and family to share the joy and excitement of getting married and celebrations as you come close to the end of your bachelor or spinster life. And it was all there in the Ambani's bash. The reports say he spent 1,200 crores for the pre-wedding festivities. And of course, it barely made any dent in his pockets. It's just 0.1% of his net worth. Extravagant catering, electrifying performances by Rihanna, Akon, Diljit, and my personal favorite, Shreya Ghoshal, private jets, chartered flights, luxury cars for being chauffeured, guests and VVVIPs from all over the world, domestic and internationally labeled costumes. Let's not forget about the exquisite jewelry by the Ambani ladies. And the watch of the groom that was being discussed by Mark. And on goes the list. So the next question that came to my mind was, if this was for 3 days and with so much grandeur and splendor, then how is the wedding going to be? And my husband said, son of Asia's richest man and the daughter of a business tycoon is getting married. So what less do you expect? Why don't we see how weddings have evolved over the years? My grandmom is 94 and she must have got married, say, somewhere around 17-18 years old. And she doesn't know the dates and years of her milestones in specific, but she still remembers the stories and events from her childhood. And when I asked her about her marriage, I was not so surprised to know that she met my grandpa on the day of her wedding for the first time. Around 25 years from then, my parents got married. My dad at least got to meet my mom before the wedding. But again, no talking alone if they wished. And my dad, not being a person of romance, they met again after that only during the day of wedding. And I had a similar conversation with my in-laws. They had actually progressed to writing letters and they enjoyed the wait for the postman every week. And during their times, the groom never came for the engagement. The groom's parents came to the bride's house and fixed the date for the wedding. No selfies, no ring exchanges, no songs and dance. The pre-wedding festivities were still part of their wedding, but it was just a day before the wedding. And then let's take my case. I was given the freedom to select my guy. I was given the freedom to talk to the guy before I meet him. And I had made it very clear that I'll meet him only if I'm okay with him over the phone. And it doesn't end there. If I'm not okay or comfortable with him in person, I was not going to say okay to the wedding just because he came all over the way to meet me. And fortunately for me, both of our parents were okay with all this. This generation has bachelorette and spinster parties. There are pre-wedding photo shoots and some are very intimate. While in those days, people saw the girls with heads bent low, and that was actually considered as a sign of their upbringing. There are engagement ceremonies with ring exchanges. There is haldi during the day, sangeet during the night, and so on. And it's not just the festivities. There are high-end photographers involved, both candid and traditional. There are makeup artists who are involved, who claim to make us look drop dead gorgeous on our special day. Food, something which we never compromise on. The decors to make your venue look like a dream. Everyone loves a dreamy wedding, don't we? But have we ever thought, at what cost? Or do we think about the dark side of the expectation set when it comes to a wedding? To be true, my first take-home salary was 10,000. I had to manage my food expenses, my travel expenses, and still try to save money. My dad was very keen on that part. And my dad is not a multimillionaire. We belong to a normal Indian middle class family. So for people like us, big fat weddings mean spending your lifetime earnings in just 3 days. And there are people who still won't be able to make ends meet, and they end up borrowing money. And for the money they borrow, they end up paying interest for the rest of their lives. And as per the current scenario, the interest on personal loans somewhere varies between 10 and 36%. How big of an amount is that for a person living a normal life? In the book Psychology of Money, there's an epic quote. Spending money to show how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Relatable? Yet, why do people spend their hard-earned money for such weddings? Let's see what I feel could be the major reasons. The pressure from the society. People have set standards on how an ideal wedding should look like, how the bride and groom should look picture perfect. They must have rituals and norms like, post and pre-wedding photo shoots, which is in addition to the actual photographs. Peer pressure, it pushes you to make you feel guilty if you're actually planning on a low-key wedding. And when someone continuously asks you, why haven't you done your photo shoot? Didn't you go for a trial makeup to the best makeup artist in town? And for your information, many a times they charge for this trial makeup as well. You automatically start feeling pressurized to get all this done. The status in the society, the family status in the society, and the fear of being criticized if the wedding is low-key. To still hold the societal status, people are ready to make the wedding as lavish as possible. Let's get back to the Ambani bash. He used this opportunity for business connections, free marketing of their animal rehab Vantara, and at the same time he made sure his societal stature is untouched. Next is a very important one, the expectations from the families. Dowry still exists in certain places, whether we like it or not. And certain places it's in the name of money, while in certain places it's in the name of other material things. There are still people who ask, how much gold are you going to put for your daughter? What are you going to do for your groom? Yes, shameful enough, but it's still happening. And we have a lot of acquaintances and contacts right now. The social bondings and connections, they are at a large scale. So the pressure of not to miss out on anybody leads to a large list of invitees. And lastly, the expectations of the bride and groom themselves. Social media has done its job. The bride and groom are easily influenced by actors, politicians, social media influencers, the business tycoons, and so on. They ask for a dreamy, luxurious wedding, destination weddings, weddings with themes, weddings in unusual spots like in the air, under the water. These are all becoming a trend nowadays. And all this might not put a dent in the Ambani's pockets, But what about the common man? And what can be done better to have a pocket-friendly wedding? Let's see my suggestions. First one, embrace minimalism. And by minimalism, I mean it in all forms. Wedding dress worth lakhs and covering up yourself in gold? Did you even see the spurge in the rates of gold nowadays? That can be thought over. Spending lakhs on makeup, that can be cut down. You can still opt for a minimal makeover. Make looking happy in your own skin and body the new normal. Photographs, yes, I agree. They are essential to look back after 20-30 years with love. But do we actually have to do the pre-wedding, post-wedding and the actual wedding photo shoot? Cutting down on any one of them, it will help you save down a bit. The venues, that take up a major amount on your wedding budget. Try to have a low-key wedding in the presence of God or in your own homes, like in the olden days. And maybe if you still insist, you can go for a larger reception with a huge gathering. It will help cut at least one part of your big spends. And the money that you intend to cut down, consider investing that money in places that yields returns. I agree, for people who have high-end social connections, they need to have a huge gathering. But the amount spent on a wedding, it does not have any return. It is a direct expense hit. Rather, if you can cut down on any of the major spends and make it minimal, you can invest that amount in some place that gives you returns. And by returns, I don't always relate it to money. You can even use that for your post-wedding travels with your partner and spend times with your soulmate. You can also try this option out. You can start saving for your wedding from an early age. And that saving, you can put or invest it in places which gives you high profits. And you can use the profits that's earned on your wedding expenses while your initial capital investment will still remain intact. And if you're planning for kids in the future, you can use the amount that you're spending on your wedding for their education. And what more will give you a better yield than that? Or you could build a cozy nest for yourselves to spend the rest of your lives together. Next, very important, bride, groom and the families team up. In most of the cases, the wedding expenses is directly shoved upon the girl. And I don't resonate with it. In the olden days, the girl's side had to bear the expenses, saying a reason that the guy is going to take care of the girl for the rest of his life. But now that's not the case. Parents are raising individual, independent and strong women with high educational qualifications. So now the expenses can be split between the families. That way you both have to spend at the same time. You can save the wedding expenses from each other's pockets. Stop demanding for dowry, money or otherwise. It's not cool anymore. And as a team, be strong enough to advocate minimalism. Face the criticism. And end of the day, it's your life, it's your wedding. Criticisms and judgments, it can be shut down. And use this wedding budget for something purposeful in life. I thought about this while I was scrolling on the shorts on my phone. There were reels on the Ambani Bash, and the next reel I saw was a Palestinian kid holding a bowl in his hand, hoping for at least one morsel of food. Two extremes, right? Yes, I agree, you cannot eradicate hunger, you cannot give 100% literacy, but definitely many drops, they do make an ocean. And I see with happiness, there are a lot of young couples coming up and they take low-key weddings and they use that budget to help on education or food for the hungry. That makes us more human. Again, these are all my perceptions to a big fat wedding. And like I said, end of the day, it's your wedding, it's your big day, and it's each person's perspective and dreams on how their day should look like. And as long as we don't hurt anybody's emotions, all is well and good. Thank you for listening, everyone, and I hope you really liked it. request you to subscribe, like, and pin your comments on this episode. I will be back again next Monday with another episode of Monday Morning Muse. Until then, spread peace and take care. Lots of love.